Welcome to Bookish Mind, Season 05, Episode 19. Today we're delving into Chapter 19 of Daniel Goleman's profound book, Focus. And we're asking, what if the most successful leaders don't just see the prize, but also, the people and the broader world around them? We're embarking on a deep dive that really kind of expands our understanding of leadership. Usually when you hear focus and leadership, it often brings to mind this laser-like intensity, right, on results or strategy. But as we'll uncover from this chapter, true leadership excellence might demand a much wider lens, almost like a panoramic vision.
Exactly. And what's truly illuminating here is Goleman's argument that single-mindedness, while it can be powerful, isn't always enough. He introduces this concept of a triple focus, which is basically an integrated awareness of your inner world, other people, and the outer world. This holistic approach, he argues, is what genuinely sets extraordinary leaders apart. We'll explore why a weakness in any one of these areas can kind of throw a leader off balance and how this broader perspective fosters more resilient, more inspiring outcomes for everyone involved, really.
Okay, so how does this triple focus actually play out? Let's unpack it with a really great example from the chapter. Steve Tuttleman.
Yeah.
Apparently, from age 11, he was just immersed in the Wall Street Journal, wild. And even today, he's this voracious information consumer checking over 20 websites daily, news feeds, 26 magazines, always flagging articles for a deeper look when he gets a moment.
Yeah, this big scan, as he calls it, it sounds like a lot, maybe time-consuming, but it's absolutely critical for developing that outer focus. He talks about constantly making connections, building a foundation. It's about being really alert to new trends, seeing emerging patterns, and cultivating a bigger field of view across society, culture, the economy. It's not just reading, it's synthesizing.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
But how do leaders actually move from just like reading all that stuff to integrating it,
Yeah.
to get real insight to make better decisions? Does it need a specific mindset? So you don't just get overwhelmed.
That's a really important question. It's definitely about active processing, not just passive intake. Tuttleman wasn't just collecting facts, he was actively looking for patterns, building what he calls this inner database. The chapter shows this really well with his investment decision about Five Below. The financials looked good, sure, but he didn't stop there. He actually went to a store, watched people, saw mothers with kids, liked the products, and felt this positive gut reaction. So it wasn't just about the numbers, it was connecting with the human side, that deeper felt sense of it all.
That's fascinating, the gut sense. So if it's really this sophisticated processing of unconscious data, how do leaders tell the difference between, a genuine, informed intuition and maybe just a bias or an emotional reaction?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right? It's a vital distinction. The source explains these gut feelings aren't just random whims. Instead, these deeper unconscious parts of our brain, they're constantly gathering decision rules, life wisdom, and delivering it as this felt sense. Think of it like a built-in radar. Certain brain circuits are key to this. And a scholarly review actually supports this, saying that using feelings as information is a generally sensible judgmental strategy, not some kind of error, because it taps into this huge amount of unconsciously gathered decision rules, like your brain's supercomputer giving you a quick read.
Okay, I see. And it sounds like Tuttleman's gut sense was really honed from a young age, right? Going over the Wall Street Journal with his grandfather, who built his own business. That combination of formal info and lived experience must have given him a really deep understanding.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the sweet spot for smart decisions. It isn't just being the expert in your field, it also demands high self-awareness. That's the inner focus Goleman talks about. Knowing yourself just as well as you know your business allows for, well, a much shrewder interpretation of the facts. It helps guard against your own distortions, your own biases. Otherwise, you're left with just cold rationality, like relying only on decision trees. And those often fail because they miss that crucial bottom-up information our conscious brain can't easily access. Think of big projects that looked great on paper but just failed spectacularly in reality.
Right, like subprime derivatives or invading Iraq, as the chapter mentions. So the best leaders aren't just glued to the balance sheet. They're constantly seeking new info from the world, understanding their own internal landscape and spotting trends. The chapter really hammers home that you need the full range inner, other, and outer focus all working together. Okay, building on that idea of connecting knowing yourself and understanding others, the deep dive then gives us this really powerful contrast. It shows what truly inspiring leadership looks like. We meet leader number one, a construction exec. Climb the ladder fast, but struggle to articulate a vision beyond just being better than our competition. Pretty flat. Then there's leader number two, a nonprofit director. Clear vision focused on community, stakeholders, to create a good environment. a profit-sharing endeavor, benefit from our products. Much broader.
And the results were just stark. Employees rated Leader 1 as one of the least inspiring, Leader 2 among the most. What's really insightful here is the brain measure they mention, coherence. Inspiring leaders showed high coherence, meaning strong, synchronized activity in the prefrontal area of the right brain. Now, that's a zone active in integrating thought and emotion and understanding other people's thoughts and emotions. So it points directly to a neural basis for what we call emotional intelligence. It's actually wired in.
Wow. So it's not just what you say, but how you feel it and connect it. Inspiring leaders can articulate shared values that resonate because they first know their own values, which, needs that self-awareness, that inner focus. It's about being tuned into your own emotional reality and the reality of the people you're trying to lead.
And this brings us to a critical point. How attention itself is woven into emotional intelligence. They're deeply linked. Self-awareness is the foundation for self-management, right? And empathy is the bedrock for effective relationships. Well, the neural circuits for attention and feelings, they overlap significantly. They share pathways in the brain. This shared circuitry means that a leader might be incredibly smart, high IQ, but could still lack the focusing skills that come with emotional intelligence if those pathways aren't well developed.
That neural link is fascinating, and it really shows up in something critical the chapter calls out poor listening. It calls it the common cold of leadership, which feels about right. There's this CEO who admitted his brain just raced too much. Even if you technically heard everything, she didn't show he got it. And people don't feel heard then, do they? You can't get the best from people if they don't feel truly understood. He realized he had to consciously slow down.
And this tendency not to listen attentively, honestly, it feels like an epidemic with all the distractions at work today. But truly attentive listening, it pays off massively. It's a core part of that other focus. The chapter tells this great story about a CEO in a land dispute with a state agency. Instead of lawyers first, he met the agency head. And he just listened attentively for 15 minutes while the guy went on a tirade. Just by doing that, by truly absorbing their side, he saw a way their needs could actually align, proposed a compromise. Handshake deal. Done. It just shows the power of really hearing the other side.
Okay, let's pivot now to the flip side. The dangers of that singular tunnel vision focus only on the prize. We hear about this high-achieving law firm partner, micromanaged, constantly criticized, just completely demoralized her team. Star performer quit. Others started looking for the exit. Her intense focus on results just blinded her to the impact she was having on the actual people doing the work.
Right. This style defines what Goleman and others call pace setters. They lead by example, setting a crazy fast pace, expecting everyone else to keep up, and they often default to a command and coerce strategy, basically just giving orders. When leaders only use this style, they almost inevitably create a toxic climate. It just drains people. Yeah, they might get short-term results through their own personal heroics, but it's always at the expense of building the organization's long-term health, its capacity.
Harvard Business Review called it leadership run an audit, didn't they?
Right.
The dark side of case setting. Scott Spryer, one of the authors, said leaders like that are so focused on the prize, they're blinded to their impact on the people around them in the room. They don't listen, don't seek consensus, don't really know their people beyond these one-dimensional roles, and they dismiss needs for development as just like failings. They come across as arrogant, impatient.
And this type of leader apparently saw a rise starting in the 90s, that era where raise the bar at any cost heroics were lionized, right? Often overlooking ethical issues or cutting corners. But then, after financial crises, huge corporate flameouts like Enron, the really severe downside of that single-minded focus just on financial results became impossible to ignore. Sure, strong top-down leaders can be good in a real emergency, but keep that style going for, say, 2 years. Trust and loyalty just evaporate.
So the failure isn't always about missing the goal itself. It's the failure to connect with people on the journey. That just get it done mode just tramples over essential human concerns. Organizations absolutely need high performers, but hitting ambitious revenue targets isn't the only measure of health. If you achieve them but lose your best people in the process, that's setting up for long-term failure.
It really makes you ask, when does focus go too far? Because focus is about selecting the right things, saying no to distractions. That's good. But it tips into overachievement when the category of distractions starts to include other people's valid concerns. There's smart ideas, critical information, morale, loyalty, motivation. Harvard's David McClellan noted that some high achievers get so fixated on shortcuts to the goal that they may not be too particular about the means they use to reach it. Ethics can slide.
Wow. Yeah. There's the example of the CEO of a global real estate firm got some tough feedback. great on business, terrible on inspiration and empathy. And he realized his biggest fear was failure. That fear drove him to be cool, even mean, when his team disappointed him. He defaulted to pace setting.
Exactly. And as Scott Spryer, the coach, points out, if you don't have self-awareness when you get hooked by the drive to achieve a goal, that's when you lose empathy and go on autopilot. The antidote. It's developing those interpersonal skills, the ability to really listen, motivate, influence positively, cooperate. Skills pace setters often lack. George Kolerizer teaches leaders to be secure base leaders, using an emotionally supportive, empathic style to help people perform at their best because they feel safe.
Maybe the most extreme example of failing to manage your impact is BP CEO Tony Hayward during the Gulf oil spill in 2010. I mean, at the absolute peak of the catastrophe, animals dying, people's lives ruined. He famously said, "There's no one who wants this thing over more than I do. I'd like my life back."
Yeah. That statement just became the poster child for how not to manage a crisis. He showed zero concern for victims, blamed everyone else, took no responsibility, and then got photographed sailing his yacht. As one of his own media relations people put it, the only time Tony Hayward opened his mouth was to change feet. He just didn't get the media, didn't get public perception at all.
And this points directly to a vital leadership skill Simon Spencer identified: managing your impact on others. It's about skillfully using your visibility, your role, for a positive effect. Hayward, totally blind to his impact, just created this firestorm, led to demands for his firing, and eventually he was out.
And the tangible costs. Just staggering. Cost BP up to $40 billion. Executives charge. U.S. government banned them from business for a while due to lack of business integrity. Spencer nails it. To anticipate how people will react, you have to read their reactions to you. It's this loop, right? Self-awareness fuels empathy. High self-awareness lets you develop good self-management, which leads to better influence. Hayward just failed across the board there, spectacularly fluked managing his impact.
It really drives it home, doesn't it? Achieving goals in a vacuum isn't enough. It can actually be harmful. The full triple focus, that integrated approach, self-awareness, empathy for others, and broad awareness of the world, it isn't just a nice to have. It seems absolutely essential for leaders to avoid serious damage to themselves and their organizations. So, thinking about all this, what does it mean for you, for anyone navigating their own work and goals? This deep dive into Goleman's Leader's Triple Focus really does redefine effective leadership, I think. It's clearly not just about the numbers or the immediate target you're aiming for. It's about cultivating that inner wisdom, connecting genuinely with the people around you, and keeping that wide-angle lens on the bigger world.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, developing these three focus areas, inner, other, outer, isn't just for leadership performance. It's fundamentally about building resilience, fostering trust, ensuring success that lasts. Whether that's for a company, a team, or even just your own personal projects, it's about how you get there, not just that you get there. Building something stronger along the way.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? When you consider the leaders you admire, or even your own style, which of these three focuses, inner, other, outer, do you tend to prioritize naturally? And maybe more importantly, which one could use a bit more intentional attention right now?